I wasn't sure if that was buffer music or if something had gone tragically wrong on the soundboard. What is that? I mean, I've listened to some weird. Did Sturgill Simpson decide to do an EDM record? What happened there?
No. That's Frank Zappa from like 1978.
Oh, that's why. That's 5 years
That's one
before I
of
was
his.
born.
That's one of his signature pieces.
Oh, well, that explains. I'm sorry I wasn't cool enough for the Frank Zappa. My bad. Musical Education Hour on the Mornings Without Joe Catenacci show. I'm Andrew Donaldson filling in. TK Turbo's having way too much fun in the sound booth, keeping everything between the rails. But we got a great guest for you right now, Eric Peterson. He is a native of the land of Lincoln. He went to Tulane. He's down in the New Orleans area. He's working with the Pelican Institute, and he comes with us through our partnership with Young Voices. Eric, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm good. Happy to be with you, Andrew.
Yeah, and I'm happy to hear you on the phone line because it's been a little bit iffy whether we get people on or not. We're having one of them kind of mornings. So thanks for joining us. You've been writing a lot about some of the big tech regulation and things, but one of the things that got slid into this reconciliation monstrosity with the budget was some regulation involving cryptocurrency. I'm going to be upfront, and I don't think I'm alone. I've made a concerted effort to try to learn about cryptocurrency, and I still don't understand it. So I'm pretty sure what they're regulating, that the people regulating it probably don't understand it and are just signing off on what they're handed. Can you kind of get us up to speed on what they're trying to regulate about it exactly? Because it is kind of a anomalous thing to a lot of normal people, and also why there's a danger to that because Congress probably doesn't know what they're doing with this thing.
Yeah, Senator Ted Cruz certainly suggested as much on the U.S. Senate floor. He said there are probably not 5 senators who understand the cryptocurrency technology that they're trying to regulate. But the easiest way to think about it is cryptocurrency is just a virtual currency which people exchange just like they would dollars. But they can do so much more cheaply because of this technology known as the blockchain. And the blockchain, all it does is using computing power to notes that I sent cryptocurrency to you and then you sent cryptocurrency to someone else. It's just a big kind of spreadsheet that keeps track of where everything is. The problem with the regulation that got into the infrastructure package is the way that they validate those transactions on the blockchain is through a process known as mining. All it does is uses computer power to do that, and people are rewarded with cryptocurrency for doing so. So they would be hit by these regulations, as well as the people who run the various cryptocurrency exchanges, not just the people buying and selling cryptocurrency.
One of the arguments with cryptocurrency by people that are proponents of it is that we're going to keep stuff out of the control of governments. The people that are against it have always says, well, that's a fleeting hope because at some point governments are going to come for it. Is that what this is? Is this a one-off stab in the dark? Because I get the feeling this is probably more of like an inroad thing to get their hands on the entire system of it as much as they can and or prevent it from being used if they cannot regulate it the way they want to. Is that a fair assessment, or how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, right, why is the cryptocurrency provision in the infrastructure package to begin with? And the answer is because they're looking for pay-fors for their $1 trillion of spending, specifically taxing the buying and selling of cryptocurrency. Right now, that would still be taxed, but it's pretty hard to do so because there aren't a lot of reporting requirements on it, so a lot of folks can skirt taxes. So what they wanted to add were reporting requirements to the IRS. The problem is, as I said earlier, is that it gets in a bunch of people who weren't related to the buying and selling of cryptocurrency. It's hard to say whether or not they were doing it because they want to get a better handle on the cryptocurrency market, or most likely they were just using it to try to raise some funding.
Do you feel like the common American person, and I'll put myself in that because I don't know a lot about cryptocurrency, even though I've tried to read up on it, do you think they really care about this issue, or do you think this is something that needs to have some awareness of? It's like, hey, even if you're not using this, you need to at least understand what's going on with it because it could have applications to whatever the next technology that comes after cryptocurrency and blockchain come to.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the cryptocurrency provision held up the infrastructure bill for a few days, I think goes to show that there are millions of Americans who are using it and are very passionate about using it and believing in the technology. Parts about cryptocurrency is China is cracking down on it because they can't control it. And so a lot of that investment and research has been moving to the United States. And the fact that this provision of the infrastructure bill could move it somewhere else that has better cryptocurrency regulations, I think is a good argument in favor of not regulating it the way that they were planning to in the infrastructure bill.
Let's move on to something else you said. We've been talking a lot about regulating big tech, excuse me, tongue-tied. People keep throwing around the term antitrust. You had a tweet about this, and I wanted you to break it down for us. You said, quote, most of the concerns about antitrust or free speech online or misinformation just boil down to not liking social media and smartphones. Tech panics all over again. Is that what you find? Because I find that a lot of people maybe don't fully understand it, but they think they know what antitrust is. They think they know what free speech is. So they just start using those blanket terms because antitrust makes people think of, an older generation would think of Ma Bell. We really haven't had a bust up of a monopoly in the public conscience in a while. Do you think these terms are helpful or harmful when we start talking about things like big tech regulation?
Yeah, I always think one of the most ironic things you see, right, is people complaining about the Facebook monopoly on Twitter or YouTube, right? Today or just a few days ago, TikTok became the most popular social media app in the world, but it doesn't get nearly the same sort of scrutiny that Facebook gets, for an example. And the reason is because most political speech is happening on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, and that tends to get a lot of headlines from politicians or folks who are interested in antitrust. When it comes to the ways that we communicate with our friends or our family, we have a lot of options there, and it's far bigger than just these few companies that seem to be generating all the headlines and the pushback from a lot of folks.
Yeah. What is your feeling with the regulation of big tech in general? I know Facebook's running ads on streaming services now with these younger folk, well, younger to me anyway, where they got these folks like, I was born when 230 was written, and shouldn't we change? They're definitely sensing that Facebook wants it. A lot of the bigger tech firms kind of want it because they want to control regulation. Where do you think, generally speaking, we are at with regulating big tech? Because Congress ain't going to stop trying to do it. They've not done it mostly out of their own incompetence so far. Where do you think we are in the grand scheme of things on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very insightful that Facebook is pushing for Section 230 regulation, right? Partially it's certainly because they are feeling that pressure, but they know that they can survive a change to Section 230. Just for your listeners who don't know what Section 230 is, all it says is that you're responsible for what you're posting on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, not the platform that makes it possible. So, they know they have hundreds of inhuman moderators. They know they have very advanced artificial intelligence to do moderation. What they also know is that many new startups don't have the same ability to moderate their content. And so any change to Section 230, they can almost certainly deal with, but smaller startups certainly cannot. I think that's why you haven't seen a lot of the regulations come from Congress, is because all of the ideas they come up with really have the effect of just making folks like Facebook, Google, giving them more market power than the system that we have now, which is one of the reasons that they're pushing to change the regulations.
Eric Peterson's joining us from the Pelican Institute and Young Voices. We're thrilled to have him. Eric, you had kind of an interesting analogy to try to explain some of the antitrust level of what they're trying to do with some of these things. It's one that this audience certainly is well informed of because we've had to deal with gerrymandering, which of course gerrymandering for one person is redistricting for another. But nevertheless, we've actually had to redo elections multiple times because they go to court and get it. Why did you use gerrymandering as an example to try to talk about antitrust, and how did that work? Because I thought that was a really interesting way to try to explain these things.
Yeah, obviously gerrymandering is all about drawing lines that benefit you, right? And in a lot of the court cases against Facebook and Google, there's been a lot of line drawing that tries to make the case look better for the government and worse for the tech companies, right? We just talked about TikTok being the most popular app on the face of the planet. In the lawsuit against Facebook, the way the government drew the line just said, well, TikTok doesn't count as a competitor for Facebook, and neither does LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube or Reddit. They said that Facebook is a personal social networking service and only a platform that basically looks exactly like Facebook could compete with Facebook in this way. And they said, so that's why we need to break it up because it's a monopoly. the interesting part about it is they said Facebook only controls 60% of this market, and they don't actually identify any competitors. So unsurprisingly, the lawsuit got thrown back to them, and now they have to go show their work to the judge. But another example would be the antitrust case against Google for the Android operating system. They say it's only a licensable operating system is the market for Android, and therefore they completely exclude Apple's operating system, which is actually the majority that is used in the United States. So if you get rid of the biggest iPhone or mobile operating system and just say Android's the only one, then it's pretty easy to show a monopoly. But that looks like some creative line drawing to me.
Eric Peterson joining us. One of the reasons I always push back about the monopoly thing is you just kind of inadvertently laid it out. They're trying to regulate a monopoly for Facebook, but that's kind of, lack of a better term, it's still very popular, but that's old technology. We're already kind of two technologies on social media. We're down to TikTok now. By the time they actually regulate it, we'll probably be to the next thing after that. We seem to be regulating. They're going to be chasing technology after the technology has already mostly moved on to the next thing. I find it hard to get by the argument that you have a monopoly when you can't even define the monopoly before the technology's already changed again.
No, that's exactly right. And so you have to ask the questions, why is everybody so interested on Facebook or even Twitter, right? Twitter is nowhere close to a monopoly, but it is a place that a lot of political speech is done. It's where the politicians run their own account. It's where they spend their time. And so when you look at these things, politicians aren't on TikTok or Reddit or things of that nature. So they're trying to regulate the platforms that they use to communicate with their constituents and make sure that they're getting favorable terms so they can get their message out. And I think when you boil down to it, I think that's a lot of what this techlash and a lot of the calls for regulation really look like.
Yeah. Eric Peterson from Young Voices and the Pelican Institute, can you let folks know where they can find your stuff so they can add you to their rotation of information?
Yeah, they can obviously find me on Twitter. It's Eric_Peterson. I also do a lot of writing at our website, pelicanpolicy.org.
Fantastic. Good job, sir. I appreciate your time this morning. You always be well.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Thank you, sir. Eric Peterson.